Bienvenidos! Welcome to this podcast, To Otaku Art Talkin. Volume 0,
Episode 1,
4. You have to read your writing. I won't be able to read any of it.
We are
Pixie
and Cam. This is a pseudo-freeform podcastish thing that goes everywhere from nerd otaku culture to the neurodivergent experience to deep philosophy of the nature of existence, but mostly about art and the Moyad Project.
Did you have an AI write that? Because that sounded like an AI.
No, that was me.
You should write for AIs.
I do.
Talk.
Okay, so here we are
So you write for AIs?
Yeah, I write code for AIs. I'm working on a lot of different AI projects actually right now in my personal time. I work as a solo developer for my little production house, trying to get my feet wet in the overwhelming industry. It's quite a lot.
The only experience I have with AI, aside from the frustration of ChatGPT, is working on something for the Moed project called Pixieland Ranger.
Pixieland Ranger. Now that is a project that will, I think, be a lot of fun once...
it's a super secret project. We're only hinting at it.
Yeah, once we do more than hint at it. For now, let's just say it exists, like Tor.
Yeah, Tor does exist. So does this yonkoma I'm working on. As you can see, I am already very busy laying down lots of layers for the background. I've, in the previous episode, sketched out a rough estimate of where I would paint things, and then as I do, I barely ever follow my own guides, and I'm just freehanding the heck out of that, looks like.
It's really an incredible process to get to watch in front of me, because the iterative process is just really neat. The way that you use layering and different techniques for different kinds of shading and stuff. It's just really impressive to watch take place.
I use a technique called do a lot to hide how bad your art actually is.
I think that technique is called good art.
Oh, well, that's why you're not an artist, and so your opinion is invalid. Art's not about the viewer. What?
Something as a for instance, this is incredibly sped up. This is a time lapse that I then increased the speed of more so. This was probably totaled about 5 hours of work or so, condensed into this 24-ish minute video.
No wonder I've got so much done already. I was like, man, I'm going to be done in no time. Oh, is this the one though? You know what? In the last video, I was like, yeah, we get up and walk away and leave it recording. That wasn't actually that video. That's this one, so. You're
right. There'll be, I think, some time near toward the end where there's just static.
It's just drawing. It's like watching paint dry.
Except no paint was involved in the making of this.
Well, I mean, I painted it. It just was painted with food color, coffee, gravy master. Not paint.
Yeah. I think that it's really incredible.
I really don't know why I do things that way.
Because you are a Renaissance man. You are operating on the same core artistic principles that the Rembrandts and Da Vinci's of their day used, where you just couldn't go to an art store and buy stuff. Well, you had to work with what you had.
That's just because I'm what you might refer to as a starving artist, i.e. poor.
Yeah, I mean, it's separated by centuries, but united by the lack of money.
Huzzah!
Huzzah! Oh, you're just kind of were showing me your art there, and that's why it disappeared there for a second.
But it's back.
But it's back.
So what's next?
Next, we can move on to something that we would like to try to do.
You wrote a piece of paper, and no matter how much I point at it, you refuse to follow it.
There's no script. There was just a brief outline of discuss ourselves, our interests, and our hobbies and passions.
We didn't do any of that. You talked about AI.
Yeah, let's see. I am a huge nerd, big into sci-fi, fantasy, existentialism, and, you know, just the kind of deep questions like, why are Gamora? Or, you know, just the eternal question of, is the red that I see same as the red that you see? The differences between subjective experience and objective reality, whether or not there even is such a thing as objective reality. Personally, I don't believe that there is, that subjectivity plays a huge part in existence as we know it. So that's me.
Well, thank you. This podcast being about me and my artwork and my project seems secondary, but I'm not here to discuss my hobbies or interests. I'm here to discuss Moad, so that's what I'll do. My hobbies and interests include Moad. I really haven't been spending a lot of time doing things outside of that lately. I get kind of where I can't do any artwork for a long time and produce nothing, and I'm full of ideas and frustration, and then I just hit a point where I start making something and making something else and making something else and making something else, and it doesn't stop until I hit the next artist block. Basically, everything on this channel is centered around this project, which is helping me to stay productive because it's so multi-layered, so faceted.
Yeah.
I want to discuss it, but like I said, it feels like that's kind of secondary in this podcast. So,
I mean, I think it's primary in this podcast. I was just saying a little bit about me since I'm a voice here, but really we're here to talk about the art that's being presented and the project as a whole. I think there's a lot of aspects of the project that are as yet to be really delved into. The different stacks and layers that are involved.
What
with
I mean
project.
by secondary is like this podcast type thing that we're doing is just us kind of talking. We have the backdrop of this yonkoma unfolding in front of us, but it's not like this is specifically about what the project is, or even what this yonkoma is about, or what it's for, or anything. So, I guess what I mean to say is, I'm not sure what level of Moad am I talking about here? What is this the space I'm supposed to be discussing the entire project, or is this the space where we're just being goofy?
We're figuring it out by the seat of our pants. This is only episode 1, volume 0.
You tell us, person, if you ever watch, audience member that we may acquire. You tell us.
What would you like to see more of? Or hear more of?
Or do more of. What would you like to do more of in your life? And also, I guess I'll talk a little bit about just the yonkoma. This is the opening piece to the book Pixieland Yume-bassu, which is the kind of cerebral fantasy otherworld novel. I would say it's the heaviest piece in the entire series. While it is the cornerstone piece, it will not be the first published, nor will it be the primary focus of the overall project. For its namesake, MOAD, it just stands for Macaroni Oni, a Yankee Doodle's Demons, which is the book that will be published first. It is a miscellany of art and poetry, short stories, all sorts of things like that, from basically the dream world that I've experienced my whole life, as well as just things that inspired me or inspired my dreams directly, as far as myths and legends and such go. The actual book this is for is a novel, and it tells the true story of how this Pixieland dream world came to be, and the crazy continuity of it and all that stuff, and all the ways that has expanded out into other portions of my life that I never expected. Crazy things. So this yonkoma is actually a depiction of what it feels like as a child to depersonalize. In the first panel is an adult with her hand on her daughter's shoulder, pushing her towards a house. The second panel is a creepy, nasty man looking out the window. The third panel is the adult woman being paid. And the fourth panel is the daughter's arm emerging from what looks like a pile of guts or whatever, being pulled inside the house. This is based on my real life experiences as a child, and was the best I could do to address the things my mother put me through without saying things that were too traumatic or too triggering or just too gross to want to write down and put out there in the world, especially since I had a long period of time where I was doing modeling and internet content and such. And during that time, I acquired a pretty sizable fan base for the size of my operation, and met so many people that were wonderful people, but also met plenty of people who wanted to hear about my trauma for wrong reasons.
A lot of not wonderful people.
A lot of really not wonderful people. And it really surprised me how many people are out there in the world with ears open to hear about these sorts of things because they enjoy it. So I didn't want to give them the pleasure, so to speak.
That's valid and considerate. Yeah.
Sorry if that got a little dense there for a moment.
That's what we're here for.
You want to lighten things up, change it up?
Well, yeah, we can pivot directly from that to the section that we like to call 4 Questions.
Aha. And it has nothing to do with Passover. Sorry to excite.
Sorry, these questions are different from those questions.
All right. So the way this segment works is we each have 4 questions that we ask the other. Just a little micro interview. You can say pass on one question if it's a question you don't want to answer, but there could be a backup fifth question waiting for you if you do that.
These questions were prepared ahead of time. Neither of us have seen the other's questions, so they are a surprise to us here.
They are a secret to everybody.
Until now. So, would you like to answer first or ask
Sure.
first? Okay. 1. Did you plan for this piece to be fully color when you initially conceptualized it?
Oh, no, actually, I planned for it to be black and white and didn't realize I had started coloring it until after I had.
Neat.
Okay. How would you describe my pre-art process?
Frantic. You spend a lot of time deliberating about specific sketched out lines, or even before you sketch anything, talking about what you want to draw. And then you sketch it out, erase it, sketch it out, erase it, forget about it for a few months, sketch it out again, and then maybe go back to it to finish it.
Accurate. Your next question?
My next question. Does this piece that you're working on in the video bring you anxiety?
Oh, yes. Yes. How many times did I have to just stop during any portion of it and just be like...
Oh, man, a lot. I think that viewers who pay attention, or maybe pay attention now or go back and rewatch these videos, will actually see several times where you had to just take a woo-saw break.
Okay. How would you describe my artistic process? Not the pre-art process. Now we're moving on to I'm about to make some art.
Now, your artistic process, that's a little different. That's when, this is after you've forgotten about it for a few months, you've gone back to it, and you are actively working on it. Then it is just no holds barred. You're going to do some wild shit to whatever you're working on. You're going to add condiments as color, or use...
I've never used a condiment as color except
Gravy
for...
Master counts. Soy sauce counts.
Fine.
You're going to stand on your artwork or add layers of tape behind it to prevent it from bleeding through, or intentionally bleed it through to the other side to make art from that. It's so... There are so many things that you do in your process of creating art that I never would have considered to do. I would have just been like, oh, well, I can't achieve that effect that I want, so I guess I'm not going to do it. And you're like, nah, that ain't going to stop me. I'm just going to figure out how to do it anyway. And then you do it, and it looks wicked cool.
I appreciate that answer full of gusto. I was actually referring to, however, just, I'm getting ready to do some art. What is it that I do? But it's okay. You already answered a question, so I guess you don't have to.
I can give you a second sneaky little answer. You often turn into a musical cocoon, and by that I mean you are just in a world of noise-canceling headphones and inspiration vibing until you actually start putting the brush to paper, the hand to mill, as it were. Milling. Yeah.
Yeah. That's. I'm gonna give you a C- on your description.
Yeah.
Yeah. You didn't use the word goblining.
Oh, you goblin, that's true. You do goblin, and I apologize. That is kind of a core defining feature of you.
You didn't even mention once how you just find me in the yard dancing around, shouting, screaming Japanese to the neighbors.
I don't have to answer it to tell you that, because the viewers themselves are going to see videos of that.
No, never. All right, move on. What's your question?
What materials did you use while making this piece? I know you've already talked about Gravy Master.
We already answered all that. Aside from that, I just used pens and pencil.
Did you? I see you used. It looks like you used marker pen, but you also used ink pen, gel pen, a variety of different types of ink. I think.
Not sure with that one. I did use quite a bit of different ink to achieve the coloring for the the green and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But that was mostly food coloring.
Okay.
What is the art zone?
Oh boy, the art zone is a place that you and others like you, and by that I mean artists, sometimes I'll even include myself in that, go to, where you are just completely gone from this material plane because you only exist in your creative bubble where you are drawing or writing or painting or sketching or doodling or whatever, and hours will pass without nary a blink of eye or a bathroom visit because you are so honed into your creative process. The art zone is a place where time dies.
Was that your last question?
My last question is, what inspired you to start this project, Moyad?
I pass.
Okay. Well, I did not have a follow-up question prepared, so you only had 3.
Oh, did I ask you 4?
No.
What is it like for you being around when I'm in the art zone?
Depends on the level of communal productivity that we are trying to achieve. If it is a high level, it is very frustrating. If it is a low level, it is a fascinating process and sometimes highly entertaining to watch because, as you briefly noted in the last episode, sometimes while you're doing art, you just wind up in some fucking wild physical positions. Like, you'll be practically doing a headstand while, under a table, drawing this thing because the light just right under there.
Sometimes you gotta get where the light is right, or sometimes, you can't draw that line from not that angle.
Hey, I'm not knocking it, just observing.
Well, I guess that's all of the questions then.
Well, I guess then we move on to the next segment.
Which is, we have another segment? I thought we were closing up.
Yeah, that's the segment.
Oh, okay.
This wraps up our 2-part look at the opening page for Pixieland Yume-bassu.
So, while we've reached the end of this piece, Project Moad is just getting started. It's a massive undertaking. Having you guys along for the ride makes the heavy lifting a lot easier.
We're going to attempt documenting the artistic side of this journey.
It would be boring just to sit and watch me write, I think.
If you enjoyed this time-lapse and want to see more of the art behind Project Moyad,
including the novel, the light novels, graphic novel, and the miscellany,
make sure to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel, especially since the project's just starting out.
Yeah, your support helps keep the gremlins and imps in Pixieland employed.
Before you go, drop a comment and let us know what you'd like to see next.
Maybe a completed art or lore deep dive, or even a video about our lives outside of the project.
Thanks for watching and being a part of Project Moyad.
We'll catch you on the next video. And now, there's a minute and a half that we closed before. So this is the super secret time where I will talk about what inspired this project.
What inspired it? For you who have stuck around to the end, you get super secret insider knowledge.
Well, you would, but Cameron's talking over my minute and a half. Now I'm dramatically pausing. Okay, so I am a huge fan of many types of music, and music basically is what gives me my breath that I breathe. I've been depressed after a lot of physical injury and such for about 2 years and haven't been able to create. But this past summer, getting back into Anna-song and J-pop and J-rock and whatnot, led me to a deep, deep, deep love of my Masayoshi Oishi, or comically, my Masayoshi Oishi. And he was really the starting point for all of this for me, and I'll talk about that in another video, but for those of you who are curious, He is the best. So now you don't have to be curious. Go listen to him and just know. And listen to Sound Schedule and OXT and anything else he's done.